Hello, and welcome to Nerd Variety, the podcast where we talk about all things nerd culture, geek culture, and variety culture.
Nerds!
I don't know what that last one means.
It means variety. So, today we are talking about different forms of acting. Specifically, we're looking at the ones I can think of. Live action, voice acting, and motion capture. And in live action, we will include not just on screen, but also a little bit of theater acting.
Yes, thank you. I feel like mostly to appease me, but it needs to be discussed.
It is entirely to appease
Make sure
me.
I don't give Hunter too much crap.
Oh, you do that anyway.
Well.
So, without any further ado, let's just get into live action acting. So, what are some of, well, first of all, do either of you have any experience in live acting?
I do. Yeah, I did a ton of theater in high school, and that's pretty much it. But it was definitely something I was pretty passionate about and would have gone into had it not been as likely to get a good job in as physics.
Fair enough.
You have to put a lot. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
It's a long. Like it has
one
to be
of the things where I feel like at the end of the day, maybe you make more money than someone who teaches physics, but
if you're good
physics teaching is
and lucky.
Yeah,
nice
you have to kind of sell your soul a little bit. To follow through all the way.
Yeah. So. But yeah.
Josh, you done any live action acting?
No, nothing beyond a little morning TV show I did in high school. Just doing some skits there. It's a lot of, learn the script, do a bunch of takes, make sure you have the energy that you need for to match for the joke to work or to sell the announcement.
Yeah. I have done a little bit, kind of. It was all in college when I was studying film. And I helped a couple classmates with their projects by doing some acting. I remember one classmate I helped. I don't think it was actually for a class. I think it was a film festival. She did a silent film, and I was just one of like 3 people in it. I think it won a thing. I don't remember. But do you remember that? Did you see it?
I remember I was in your silent film that you remember you had
you
me
were
do
in
a silent.
mine?
I think you had me and what's her name? What is her name?
Do you remember Taylor?
Not Taylor.
Because Taylor was the one that did
Monica.
it that I was in.
Monica.
I remember her.
Yeah.
I don't remember doing a silent film.
It was like I think it was you and two other like students, and we were like going to the campus the courtyard.
Yes, I do remember that.
It was the whole thing. I was trying to get her. I was like,
you're right.
Like, oh, who's that girl?
It was how to get the girl's number. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember that. I got that. I got you. Yeah. So of course, I did some acting for other people and for myself. And okay, Hannah, go make some tea. But of course, I, being a film major, also had to create some stuff. So I have some experience, limited experience, but still experience on both sides of the camera. And also, I took an acting and directing class where we had to switch out roles. And I've had to, go through a script, make sure to like mark notes in it, figure out my character, learn about my character, figure out for myself my character's motivations and everything, right? I write out the beats and do all that. I kind of hate it, but that's just, I probably because I had limited experience with it, and I'm bad at it just because of my limited experience, I think. But and I'm just awful at memorizing things, which is a major part of it. So yeah,
it's amazing to hear about how that's one thing that actors have to do as far as prep work, right? Like being able to memorize things in like a crazy way.
Yeah, I do think something that makes it a little easier is from what we were taught in that class on how to learn your character and everything. It's more important, I would say, to learn like your beats, like the story beats, what's happening, and just understanding your character, because then it kind of helps you get a little more into your character's headspace and just understand maybe naturally how they might respond. So it's also important to understand that, so when you are actually
That mostly comes in
filming,
handy for when you forget what your line is.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
And
which
you have
would
to
be,
just make something up.
I imagine that would be a big problem with me if I were to do it much, but
Well,
yeah, I
it's
mean, it's
definitely
always
something.
helps you fall back on something just in case.
It's definitely something I think that's a bigger issue in theater rather than film. Because if you're filming, most of the time you can just like try again.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you're performing on stage, if you forget a line, I don't think people really. I don't know.
You
I don't.
could probably have someone feed you lines.
I know. I know that that's like a thing
Yeah.
that you see in TV. I've never had anyone feed me lines while on stage, and I've been in like somewhere between 9 and 12 performances over the course of my life.
Yeah.
Somebody give you a suggestion, like your counterpart on stage. It's like, and
Okay, I've
you
had
want
that
it-
happen.
Yeah,
Well, I
it's
don't know
like-
if I've
yeah.
I don't know if I've had that happen, but someone from my
Ooh.
school has had that happen. But I feel like you see in TV shows like someone off stage reading you lines,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I've never had that. Now it might
Yeah.
just be that I went to a teeny tiny little homeschool art school, and it's the whole thing.
I'm trying to figure that out.
We just didn't have the people for that. I don't know, but we always just had to deal with it.
Yeah.
If you forget your lines, you just got to figure something out.
Yep.
Yeah, so I would say that is just something between, theater and live action that is, it's good and bad about each. With film, the thing is, like if you're recording something, obviously, yeah, you can kind of stop. The director can choose to cut and start again, or you don't even have to cut. You can just keep going and then just edit out the bad parts later. But then again, there's also the problem where you're paying people for their time. So if the actor keeps messing up and takes more time, that's more money that's being spent on keeping everything going.
Yeah.
Sure.
The disaster artists the room in reference to the room where he couldn't get the line of how to get where he walks out of the roof entrance and says his line. It took him all day.
Yeah.
A worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I did not hit her. I didn't. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah. But that's just that's a little bit of it. There's also, of course, in live action, just in general, you have to really know you have to know exactly where to stand and everything. I imagine in theater you can be maybe slightly looser with that. Again, I don't really know, but I mean, especially when you're on film, you have to be set up like perfectly, because you're obviously limited by the spacing of the camera, and
It's similar on
to
stage.
get a very specific frame. They have to catch you in that frame.
Yeah, it's similar on stage because, and it's actually fun. We did exercises in various theater classes where like if someone was supposed to move like from one side of the stage to the other, we would just have like as background characters or as kind of the other people in the scene, everyone else kind of like shifts around them, so you don't end up with like clumps of people. So it's like if someone walks over that side, you have someone in the background like walk over here to get a drink of water or something, just to kind of like keep everything balanced and make sure everyone's not crowding up on one side.
Yeah, keep everybody on their track.
Yeah, and you do have to be able to see everyone. You don't want to be like blocking someone who's got lines.
Yeah.
And they have to be seen not just by one camera, but like generally by everyone. You don't. It's sometimes hard to make sure like everyone can see me.
Yeah, and definitely with like theater stuff. Again, you have to be like facing the audience pretty much, because everyone has to hear you, and you have to really speak louder. On film, usually you're gonna have a mic like on you. You're gonna have a lavalier mic or something, and it's more about talking to the camera and just kind of acting for that and everything. You're not having to act for a stage for a group of people right there.
Yeah. And
more intimate.
To be completely honest, I'm not really the blonde bombshell star kind of person.
I mean, I am.
Good for you.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of like sort of side characters in a lot of the plays that I was in. And another interesting challenge is like I was in Much Ado About Nothing and I was the messenger. And I had like the second line and the second to last line and was pretty much on stage like the entire time. I had other lines here and there, but like pretty much on stage the entire play, and just had to like pretend to be really into this thing that I'd seen happen 100 times that was going on.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just a lot of like act, like expression, just expressions, not really using your, not really say anything, but just like people have to be able to read what you're thinking.
Not looking out to the audience being like, where's my mom?
Yeah.
Or just like zoning out is the biggest risk, honestly.
Oh yeah.
Especially because it's like, oh yeah, so and so loves whoever.
I'm just gonna hear.
Yeah.
So there are definitely some unique challenges that come with being on the stage.
Yeah.
I know for a lot of shows they want you to look a certain way. If you're signed on for a role, you have to, kind of look like that character to start out with, and they probably will maybe edit some things about your appearance. Say, hey, maybe get it, change your hair, lose some weight, gain some weight, wear glasses or wear these glasses frames, or wear contacts if you normally wear glasses. Get in shape or get in awful shape. Some of those things.
Yeah.
Wear makeup. Don't wear makeup. You just got to be prepared for anything.
And yeah, I can definitely also imagine that's particularly tough on, people that are they have like multiple projects going on, like back to back or something. And then they have to look a very certain way, a very specific way for one thing, and then go right around to something else and look totally different.
Yeah.
And I know that's, you can see that's tough on I'm blanking on the term, like Christian Bale.
Yeah.
Is, who it's a method actor. That's what it is, that really commit to those roles and really commit to changing their body and style and everything to be how they are.
Yeah. He and Joaquin Phoenix both lost roles, like he gained weight to play Batman, and Joaquin Phoenix lost weight to play the Joker. So that it's just a lot of commitment, like as far as saying like, I'm going to eat just this for all this time. And even some of the Avengers actors, they had to eat, like stay shredded. So they had to work out constantly and eat chicken and roasted vegetables for so many months out of the year.
Yeah. And I remember, when I was at Dragon Con last year, Zachary Levi went on a whole thing about how he had to do that for to be Shazam.
Yeah.
And that's kind of interesting. But, I also think that can be, I guess it depends on the extent that you take it to, but it can be an advantage. It can be, if you were unhealthy or something, then it can be a motivation to get you healthier if your role were to call for that. And I think that's a possible advantage, not necessarily always going to be.
Yeah, you can keep, like, maybe I'll cut out drinking like 4 beers every day, or 6-pack every 2 days, and maybe just have, a couple, and also work out and maybe add vegetables to my diet.
What do you think are some other advantages to live action?
You get quicker recognition, for sure.
Yeah, people recognize you a lot more when they actually see you and get more familiar with seeing your face and hearing your voice and connecting.
Yeah. Same with studios. Studios will be like, oh, I can actually see this person in one of my projects. Let me give them a call, and based off of what they look like,
Yeah. Hannah, you got anything? No?
I don't know. I just keep wanting to talk about one of like the major differences between theater and film acting, but it's not
All
the
right.
answer to the question that you asked.
I mean, we're about to move on to voice acting, so if you want to mention it now,
Yeah,
now's the time.
just I feel like the thing that people don't understand a lot about one of what I think is kind of like the biggest difference is that when you're on stage, everything's kind of exaggerated.
Hmm.
Like everything's a
Mhm.
little bit bigger, and you have to show emotions generally like less with your face and more with your body.
I feel like that's always brought up and made
Is it?
like known the biggest difference between theater acting, like film acting or something. But I
Mm.
mean, that maybe that's just me
Uh,
having learned about that a lot of
I
that.
mean, you kind of have to really be able to, like, people want to be able to look at someone and automatically know what is going on with them if they don't have lines
Yeah,
to say what's going on.
and especially if you're in a big theater,
Mhm.
there may be someone really far back that won't be able to see anything subtle
mhm.
that you do, so you
Mhm.
have to be big and kind of
Yeah,
help
whereas when
explain.
you're on camera, frequently the camera's like in your face
Yeah.
Mhm.
and capturing like very minute details.
Yeah.
And maybe that is a well-known thing. I don't know, but I feel like it falls into that camp of like if the same like realm of frustration for me is the idea that those who cannot do teach. I'm like, no,
Mhm.
doing and
Yeah.
teaching are very different. Like
Yeah.
they're different skill sets. And I feel like people who are like, oh, if I don't make it in theater, or if I don't make it in Broadway or on, what am I saying? Hollywood, like if I don't make it on film, I'll just go be a theater
Be
actor. It's
teaching,
like,
yeah.
no, be a theater actor. It's like those
Oh,
are different.
Yeah.
Those are different things.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like they're not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite
There are a lot of I think, screen actors that love going off to the side and doing theater work. I guess it's a
Sure.
different kind. I think it's a different experience where they just like that form of storytelling better.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel like anyone who thinks that they're, they can do either one equally and like they're basically the same is like, no,
Yeah.
they're not.
Yeah, it's a bit
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, let's talk a little bit now about voice acting. So, Josh, you're probably the most experienced in the voice acting field.
Yeah, been interested in voice acting for a while now. I was kind of in a stage of pursuing it more, and like a couple years ago, I did a few workshops, like intro to voiceover, and then two animation workshops. So I got to learn a lot from people that in the industry and learn about the different kinds. Like there's narration, there's animation, there's like radio announcements, and there's also just like doing like just being like the voice of like for I guess reading something, or like an instruct like just teaching, like as a like just teaching as a voice, using your voice to teach someone just over like a medium.
Yeah,
Like I use my voice to teach people.
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, not exclusively. I guess I don't know though.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I don't know if I understand.
Yeah. But in those three things, you learn to use your natural speaking voice. You start to work on your reading ability because when you're in a booth, you're really just you're reading through the script, making little adjustments of like, oh, this needs to be enunciated, or this needs to be said very quietly, and you have to really kind of have someone that you're talking to in the booth. You might just be in the booth by yourself, and that could be a challenge. That could be a challenge if you're reading lines, because you might not be talking to the person that you're talking to in the actual like show or whatever it is you're making.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because again, you're not always gonna be. And actually, I think it seems to me like it's kind of rare that voice actors are actually in the room with their other actors. So
The thing,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really have anybody that you're acting off of. That you're.
the thing that makes me think of is I saw a video recently with Tom Holland and Will Smith in it, because they came out with the movie Spies in Disguise like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And in the video, they're like, "This is the first time we met, and the movie just came out," or something like that, because it's animated, and so they had recorded all their lines separately. But they're like, "Hey, we finally get to see each other. That's cool."
Yeah. in the Halo games, Cortana and Master Chief never shared any scenes, or never shared the time in the booth together. It was always done remotely. And then in Halo 4, they finally got to act in the same room, just to kind of give some more emotional depth.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I think of like I went to see quite a while ago now, like 2014 or 2015, something like that. I saw Archer live, and it was I don't know if this was just a joke or a joke with truth entirely in it. But like John Benjamin was talking about something. He's just they're kind of looking at him. It's like, what? It's like can I make a confession? It's like, you've never seen the show, have you? It's like, I've seen the parts that I'm in. I've seen the parts that my character's in. It's like, okay. So, I mean, you know, that also could be a problem, you know, if you're trying to do it, you know, and it's maybe before you have the animation done, which I don't know that much about it. I assume it's usually before animation's done so they can do lip syncing a little better. But again, I don't know. So that's one reason also I can think it might be kind of difficult to do voice acting for that kind of stuff when, you know, you don't know what your character looks like and you don't know what your character's actually doing at the time. You just have to kind of take notes and really interpret something.
I'm sure you have like character sketches at least.
Yeah. They will give us character sketches during the workshop.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, again, you're not actually seeing them like in motion.
Not all the time, but they give you some, like, I guess some character, you know, blips about them. Like, hey, he likes, you know, food. He's a foodie. He's kind of snobbish. He is from this country here. He's got 3 siblings, you know, kind of work with that and make a character voice to go with him.
Yeah. And, you know, I guess maybe I was thinking in my head something different than what I was saying, actually. I guess thinking about it, it's more like, I guess the problem or the challenge in my mind comes in that you're not controlling that character. It's, you know, you're basically, I guess, giving a voice to someone else instead of becoming that character. Again, that's my interpretation, because, you know, live action, again, you are that character, so you're moving them. You can decide like what their gestures are and everything. You're not doing that when you're doing voice acting. You're just providing the voice, and you're not.
I think the voice is so much of who the character is.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it can be. I don't think it always is.
If you watch some more behind the scenes, you can see some actors really getting into the roles, and they kind of, I guess, put some of that activity they do, or how because you really are like you know, putting on a show in the booth as that character, to really kind of get into their shoes and to provide some life to them, or to, I guess, make sure you're in the right headspace for that character, because you're not on screen with someone else, you're by yourself, and so you have to add a little more to it to actually be that character. Yeah. And so that way your vocal performance matches whatever is being drawn out and animated.
So I guess that I could see that being either a challenge or an advantage based on just how you interpret it, how you know, how the actor interprets that.
Well, I like to think of challenges and advantages as the same thing, Hunter.
All right, Hannah.
Good for you. Because you could look like anyone and be the voice for the character. You could be, like, I think for Family Guy, Cleveland's voiced by a white dude. Seth MacFarlane voices like Peter, Quagmire, a baby, Brian, a dog.
Yeah, he
bunch of characters. You can voice
Seth Rogen, or sorry, not Seth Rogen. Seth Green voices Chris.
He voices Roger as well.
And like everybody in Robot Chicken. Well, probably about half the cast in Robot Chicken.
Yeah.
I think that might be part of the reason that I never really pursued stage acting, is because I pretty much have looked like this since I was 15 and was always cast as like the mom or the teacher. I was just immediately like, that's what I'm going to be for the rest of my life. Yeah. And I felt like voice acting, I have thought about voice acting I felt like there was a lot more potential there to be kind of whoever you want. And honestly, one of my biggest dreams is to stand in a booth by myself and make superhero grunting fighting noises.
Yeah,
That's what I want.
We can make something. If you want.
Yes, I'm totally down.
I am too.
You could be the hero.
Basically, as soon as I realized I couldn't actually be a superhero, I wanted to voice a superhero.
Yeah.
Which was, around like age 14 or something.
Yeah.
Or you could be a demon.
I don't think my voice will go
You can do whatever though.
Or you could be whoever you want.
It's actually fun because what I do for a living is almost like D&D-esque, but with math for elementary schoolers. And so there's 4 characters, and they do have all of their own voices that I give them. And it's like, I've watched other people teach, and they don't use voices, and I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you there's like this little elf dude, and his voice sounds like this, and this is what he sounds like. And I'm like, don't understand how you could just read his lines in a normal voice. I don't get it. Don't understand.
No imagination.
Unless it is an actual elf that's reading the lines.
I don't think it is. But then again, I've never met any of my coworkers in person, so
I think you're going somewhere, Hunter.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just I do think it is something that you can really be like anybody if you're doing voice acting. I have been very surprised on occasion, if I actually look up who's a voice actor for a character, it's like, wow, really?
Yeah.
I was probably that way the first time I learned that Meg on Family Guy is Mila Kunis, and I was like, what?
Yeah. I think the biggest one for me with that is when I started watching footage of God of War 4, and that's Christopher Judge, who I loved from Stargate SG-1. And he's just got like this intensely low voice. Like, I've heard people be like, is that like pitched to go even lower? And they're like, no, that's just what he sounds like.
Yeah, and
he's incredible.
I always say there's like two kinds of people that are great in voice acting. There's the people that are like, chameleon's not even the right word because it's just your voice, but like that can change their voice to just about anybody.
Tara Strong.
Yeah,
Tara Strong is full range.
There are people that can sound like anybody, and then there are people that sound like themselves, but they have such a distinct voice that they like the characters that they are known for. It's you kind of tie the voice to that character, so they're distinguished. I'm sorry, Josh, you sound like you want to say something.
Oh yeah. And people aren't really looking for much of like an impressionist when you're doing voiceover. They want you to get, I guess, take that type of voice and mold it into another character. To which, if you're good at like using like, if your voice has a good range and if you can do different impressions, you can also apply that to making multiple characters instead of being like, I'm just gonna do this Joker impression and make it and take over Mark Hamill's job or no.
Yeah, and actually, one person that I was thinking of, I always forget his name though, because I think of him mostly as a voice actor, though I know he's been in a good bit of live action stuff too, is Lance Reddick. You may remember him. He was in, I think I may have even talked about him on the show before. He was in, The Wire, though I don't really know who he was in there. Fringe. He was in John Wick. He was the, I can't remember the title. He was the guy at the counter, who's like the manager or something, or the assistant manager, whatever. I don't know. If you've seen John Wick, you know who he is. Again, he's the guy at the counter who ends up taking care of the dog, the second dog. He's also in the game Quantum Break, both live action and probably motion captured, but he's also in like Destiny. He plays Zavala, and that I think is just a very, very distinctive voice. And every time I hear him, I think of him as that character pretty much, and I don't even remember like, oh, he's this other guy too.
Yeah.
He doesn't even do anything. Same with Keith David. Like, he doesn't really do anything to change his voice, but he's so distinctive, he kind of lends himself to whatever character he plays.
Yeah. This is a powerful character who you don't mess with, or he's got some wisdom on you, so to speak.
Yeah. But now let's quick just move on to our last section, our last type of acting here, which is, we've kind of mentioned it a bit, but motion capture, which is a bit of a, I'd say, a more recent one. It's not so, it's kind of, to me, I think of it as a strange mix almost of live action and voice acting, because obviously you usually are moving around and actually acting with your body, but you also have to you're not always going to look like yourself, and all those subtle movements aren't necessarily going to transfer over, so you do have to rely on your voice a lot. So I think it takes probably the hardest parts of each of those and mixes them together.
Well, and I think what I have absolutely no experience with it, but I think one of the most interesting things about it would be if you're doing it, you're not necessarily as likely to be playing a human, or you're, I don't know, I'm not even gonna say that because I might be wrong, but I feel like imagine if you had to play a tree, right? You have to like act like a tree and be like stiff and branchy, and so I feel like there's an added like physical element to it that you don't really have in the other ones, unless you're playing a tree on stage, which could happen.
There's it's a kind of like the whole it really plays on the whole using your imagination thing. You have to kind of imagine you're a Jedi, imagine you're an 8-foot alien, imagine you're
a tree,
a tiny
I'm just thinking of ends.
Hannah, you said that, and you said being stiff and everything. All I can think of is Groot, though. So Vin Diesel as Groot. So it didn't quite apply as being stiff and everything.
I was thinking of Ents from Lord of the Rings. That's where my brain was at. Okay. I don't know if they did motion capture, but imagine if you tried to play an Ent, like how you would have to add like this other physical element onto the acting.
Yeah, I guess. Walking on stills, or maybe they get like a stand-in.
What was that? Walking on sunshine?
I don't remember how they did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. So yeah, what kind of prep work goes into like motion capture? I kind of imagine there's pretty similar prep work in all of these. Learning your character, kind of understanding their background, and knowing your lines.
Yeah.
Well, again, I think if you're going to be playing something that isn't human, if that's something that is, an actual thing, not to bring up the Cats movie that I don't think any of us saw.
No.
But like if you're going to be a cat, you need to like go figure out like how cats move and like be specific about that and figure out how to turn that creature into something that's a little bit more humanoid. Mm-hmm. And the same could go for dragons. You just could like go and watch chameleons for a day. I don't know. But
dragons, Komodo lizards.
Yeah, figure out, go look at some reptiles and be like, how do you function?
Yeah. Teach me your ways.
To get like this weird other level of inspiration.
Yeah. You have to be comfortable with wearing being physical in the stage area. You'll probably have to do some stuff on wires, you have to probably be doing a lot of imaginary things, things you might have to be physical for, so they can at least get some movements tracked before getting you kind of digitized.
Yeah, and I imagine there's a lot of trying to act kind of like with voice acting too, but also with motion capture, you're doing it physically as well. You kind of have to act with things that aren't there and pretend that they're people, or just pretend that there are objects and stuff that aren't there, which is becoming more and more of a thing. But I think I don't even know, honestly, if it would be getting easier or harder.
Easier because it's like they know more about how to do it well. of course, the suits. I'm sure one thing is for sure. Like you can learn to be physical as much as you need to be on a movie before your stunt double comes in, and you can act on a stage. But there's also going to be a thing of like being like technically mindful of like all the stuff you have to put on and what you have to do for the cameras, and making sure that you're following supposed directions, because that mocap stuff is probably pretty expensive.
Yeah, and I imagine you just have to learn to be, I don't know, more durable and just more flexible with stuff, because you have to, I'm sure a lot of that stuff just, if you're wearing like a lot of things for motion capture, you're going to get really hot, first of all, because they have to light the crap out of that green room or that green screen, whatever. And, and then, if you are actually wearing props and stuff as well to go along with that, it can be heavy. A lot of times they do a lot of makeup as well as motion capture stuff. So, like, just think of Nebula in the Avengers movies.
I think a lot of that for her was just makeup and prosthetics.
Yeah, again, like I think it was a lot of that, but I'm sure there was also. I mean, I know there's also a lot of CGI stuff that goes in there as well, so a lot of motion capture, especially since she's a robot. So like when limbs get torn off and stuff.
Oh yeah,
you have to deal with that as well.
Yeah, you have to wear have like a green on your arm for that scene. I'm thinking of like Tony and Rhodey in Civil War. They were walking around in mocap suits with maybe a little bit of armor on to kind of give it some realism, but most of it was mocap. I think Far From Home was mostly CG, because most of that was filmed in just a
Atlanta
green screen room. Yeah,
it's probably at Pinewood.
Oh yeah.
That's where they do a lot of their stuff.
Pinewood's taken over.
Yeah. So that's some challenges of motion capture. Again, it can be really heavy trying to act with different things that aren't there, all that sort of stuff. What do you think are some advantages? Personally,
it just sounds like a ton of fun.
That's what I was going to say. It just seems like it would be a lot of fun. Although at the same time, I can imagine it could be difficult because you have no idea what it's going to look like. And in the end, you might just be, and you've heard from some actors just that are like, I feel ridiculous trying to act.
I was
going to
say,
stuff.
I feel like one of my biggest challenges would be like trying not to like bust out laughing.
Yeah.
It's just being like, completely absurd.
Let me get all my laughs out, because this is all just ridiculous. And then, all right, I'm serious now.
Yeah.
Watching, I think Bennett, you watched that. Remember that behind the scenes for Desolation of Smaug, and he does do the Smaug, whatever. He does the motion capture in a big room, and then he goes back and does the voiceover, and he's I think he's matching it with the prototype animation they have for him, so everything kind of syncs up a little more.
Yeah, but it seems like a lot of fun. It seems like it's very physical, which is, especially I feel like if you're someone who does a lot of film acting, you don't necessarily get to be very physical all the time, because it's more like focused on your face and your emotions that way. So I think it might be fun to do something that just like really takes your whole body like that.
Yeah. So again, that's just that's sounds like we've covered a lot of challenges, good things, bad things, prep work, neutral things about motion capture, voice acting, and live action acting. And I don't know if I want to do any of those.
Maybe I want to do all of it.
I was going to say, maybe I want to do all of it, but not a lot, because I
know you rather direct, right, Hunter? If you could.
I would rather write or direct.
There you go.
If I could act for a living,
I would really want to do sound design. That's my thing. But yeah.
Hannah, which one would you rather do?
Which one I'd rather do?
Well, you're saying all three. You'd rather do like you do all three, and if you could.
I would love to do all three. It really has been. I was like a huge fan of Teen Titans when I was a kid, and literally like when I stopped believing I could be a superhero, I wanted to act a superhero in a cartoon. That's always been something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I would still love to do that, but I also would really enjoy. I don't know if I would enjoy film as much, just because I feel like it's, I don't know, maybe a little bit too serious sometimes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd be down for any of it, honestly.
What about you, Josh? Voice acting?
Yeah. I need to get back on that.
Seems like the obvious one, but no.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of like on-screen acting. I feel like there's a lot of pressure of like, you have to look a certain way. You have to, people,
Do I feel that?
Yeah. So and there's just a lot of pressure as the lead that you'd be under.
Yeah.
Motion capture will be fun.
Yeah. I think you'd. Is that me?
I could actually be pretty good at acting, but I was given mostly like side roles and stuff when I was in high school, for who knows what reasons. So I just want to prove myself. I can do it.
You could do it.
I can do it.
Well, I think we all have our goals now, and
Yes.
we need to work towards making those happen.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah, we will. I will. We'll help out.
Go to a workshop. Hannah.
I have no money.
People interested in this, go to a workshop. You can learn a lot of things.
Go to Meetup. There are things. Anyways, that's it this week on acting. Hannah, you're next week, right? What do we got?
I am next week. We're going to be talking about Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. Not the movies, just literally Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. What are our favorites? Where do we see them? What are some maybe different interpretations of our favorite classic creatures? That's what we're going to be talking about next time.
All right.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm excited.
Good. I'm glad.
I want to do it. So
Find all of them. Catch them all.
So that was Nerd Variety, different forms of acting. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it. I appreciate it, at least.
I do too.
Yeah. Hannah's the only one that's not appreciative.
Hannah doesn't.
So like me and Josh, but not Hannah. And thank you guys. Until next time, nerd out.
Bye.
Nerd out.